Hello, we are all live right now, and now we have how many people here? Three. All right. Okay, that's three of us. All right. Hi, welcome everybody, and thank you for tuning in on time for the very first episode on connecting the dots. This episode is on handling vulnerabilities, together with my co-host Rayson Chu and today's guest, Stephanie Lim. We will elucidate the dynamic of feeling vulnerable within self and how to be supportive when others shows vulnerabilities. This is the first of a four-part series on social minding, a term I coined to bring our focus in the way we socialize. A little self introduction here. My name is Sarah Bo. I'm the founder of the therapy platform. The therapy platform is a therapy booking platform. Currently, we have 30 plus therapists with a wide ranging of expertise. Stephanie is one of the therapists listed, and so am I. To visit the therapy platform, go to URL thetherapy.co, and over there you can see the details on our profiles. With me today is my co-host, Rayson Chu. Yeah.
All
Rayson has
right.
been coined the celebrity whisperer. He has his own podcast that has run several years. Okay, Rayson, what's the name of your podcast?
It is called the Legacy Show.
Wow, cool name.
Yep.
Legacy Show. Okay, so
Yes.
and he's a full-time psychiatric nurse.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the many reasons why I invited him to be my co-host.
Okay.
Thank you, Rayson, for very spontaneously, willingly agree to be a co-host on from the very start. It
Oh,
takes
most welcome.
life-giving person to do that. So thank you
Mm-hmm.
for jumping in to do this.
Oh,
And yeah.
this is like an honor and pleasure to be here, and especially it is my niche, which is mental health and mental wellness as well. So something that I want to give back to the community, and not just that, it is also something that one of my mentor has been highlighting to me to talk about mental health, which he was waiting and waiting and waiting, and voila, we have connecting the dots together with you, and also at the same time, really amazing guest today is Stephanie. Yeah, so
Yay.
really grateful for you to be here. And also at the same time, we are so excited to have a lot of bantering of discussions, of ideas, and also values that are going to be given to every single one of you that's tuning in right now, be it you are watching it or watching the replay as well. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well
Mhm.
said. And back to you, my dear friends watching this. Most likely, you are watching this because you already know the therapy platform. You are
Mhm.
followers on the Facebook page or on my personal Facebook. Once again, thank you for tuning in. And for those who are watching a replay, feel free to still comment because we would be following up on your comment as far as possible. As a courtesy reminder, kindly show love and care in your comment as we would like to keep this space saved for expression of emotion. Refrain from offensive, inconsiderate comments, and inappropriate comments will be removed immediately. We do our best to respond to all your questions and comments, though we may not be able to respond to everyone. And there will
Mhm.
be a 15 minutes Q&A about 9:45, and we'll try to end this talk show by 10 p.m. All right,
Mhm.
now let me say more about Stephanie. Okay, Stephanie, she has 10 years of counseling experience. In particular, she is very knowledgeable in terms of handling crisis situation because she has that work experience working with people who has to handle lots of crisis and going through immense stress. So she has that
Mhm.
skill set to do that, and I think her skill set is of particular importance right now, given that all of us are going through this pandemic, and there's lots of crisis situations surfacing. We really want to learn how to deal with crisis situation, because that's where we can feel quite vulnerable, and our response to our vulnerability can mean a lot, can make a lot of difference in how situation turns out. So thank you, Stephanie, for willingly become the first guest for this talk show.
Oh, it's a privilege, Sarah. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, it's very exciting and I'm thrilled to be amongst the both of you.
Right. Nice, nice. All right. Can I just all right, let's just jump right in, okay? To begin our discussions, I have my interns Hazel and Chen Liang. They have created a fictional character by the name of Sam. So I would like to
Mhm.
invite all of us to take a look at the background of Sam, and we can kickstart our discussion based on a context that Sam has experienced.
Mhm.
All right, a brief introduction of Sam. Sam is 21 years old. He has the personality of INFP, that is introverted, intuitive, feeling, and perceptive. He's the son of Eve and Jim, and is a
Mhm.
younger brother of Steffi, 2 years younger. All right, and let's move to the next. Yeah, a little history about him. He grew up in a big, loving family. He was smart for his age, middle class family. But at 14 years old, he faced some financial and relationship difficulties at home. And also, he has the experience of being bullied around that time. And now Sam is in university. So we will be following the story of Sam, how he has and his various encounters. So let's look at what he encountered in today's session. So the next one. All right. So Sam was invited to a party by one of his
Mhm.
friends, and
Yep.
Sam met this girl who was found crying in a corner all by herself. Sam approached her to ask how's everything, and she said, "Well, it's just my friends. They were probably teasing me, but I can't help feeling hurt." So Sam responded by, "Hey, don't overthink. I'm sure they don't mean it." So this leaves the girl feeling, maybe no one understand her. Yeah. So I think to bring our attention maybe to how Sam respond, let's come back. We can remove this. Yeah. All right. Okay. So looking at how Sam responds to the girl's vulnerability, um,
Mhm.
what do you guys think? Like, if you were to put in yourself in the girl's positions, maybe if you put in Sam's position, how would you handle the situation?
Stephanie, you can go first.
Huh,
Um,
oh, okay. Okay. Let me.
sure, no problem.
Uh, yeah. Okay. Let me say something now. Okay. I guess
Sure.
it can be tough, right, when we are feeling hurt by somebody's comments and we are actually
Mhm.
trying to seek maybe validation and affirmation for what we are going through. And so when
Mhm.
we are actually trying to tell people what our experience was and being told that, hey, actually it's nothing much lah, then we might feel like we are being slighted and we don't feel
Mhm.
validated and affirmed, and then so it can make us feel even more vulnerable, I guess. What do you
Mm-hmm.
guys think?
Mm.
Mm,
I agree. I mean, like when you're hurt by someone or some situation, okay, and then somehow or other people brush it off and tell you, hey, it's nothing at all. Somehow or other, at first you might be confused, like, hey, it's something that really hurt, in my opinion. And then next moment, you are saying that, hey, it's nothing at all, and you as a person, you might feel that don't really care so much about you, or they might not even like think that this is something that's significant to them. So somehow or other, when you are the one that's facing this, right, you will feel like, hey, you are all alone and no one is supporting you, even though maybe the way that they are actually trying to uh, comfort you, trying to coax you, is to tell you that, hey, this is nothing, just live it, right? But somehow or other, probably our mindset at that point of time when we are pretty down and out, we will tend to look at the negative. So we will be very much, this person don't like me also. So I have to withdraw myself, especially I'm an introverted person, so I have to withdraw myself from these friends, or even from, this situation, and move, and even the environment, and leave this place. So
Mm,
so yeah, I believe, it will take some time for a person to realize that, hey, actually they meant for their good. But for Sam wise, and this girl wise, um, probably, he could have done it better, but because of um, his personality traits, that's why he's meant it in a way that sounded a bit uh, cold towards that girl, in a sense, in my
mm,
opinion. Yeah.
yeah. So I feel like if I put myself in the girl's position, I'm already feeling vulnerable, right? I've been teased
Hmm.
by some friends,
Yeah.
maybe unintentionally.
Hmm.
And then I think I would like to feel supported at that point of time. But I
Yeah.
suppose Sam comes in perhaps wanting to support by telling
Hmm.
me, if I'm the girl, not to actually dwell on it. So he said,
Hmm.
like, don't overthink. Maybe that's a way
Yeah.
he tries to encourage her to not
Hmm.
dwell on it because it may make her feel even more vulnerable. It may make her
Hmm.
feel more depressive, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that's his way of managing the situation. But
Hmm.
the way I experience someone who will respond to me like this is actually to tell me to shut down.
Hmm.
Is to shut down my feeling. Don't attend to my feeling. Don't talk to my feeling. Yeah, so it's like
Hmm.
don't treat the feeling, don't talk about it, and just move on, which is,
Yeah.
I think, is a common like coping mechanism that people
Hmm.
use, right? If you have a bad encounter, don't think about it, just move on, you know, and might be can be an effective way in the short run to just move on. But when the emotion keeps accumulating, negative emotions, and no one seems to
Hmm.
empathize with the feeling, I think that can make the person feel even more vulnerable. Like no
Yeah.
one understand my feeling. So that
Yeah.
can actually make her feel vulnerable, even more vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and more vulnerable to bullies, or even more vulnerable to being a yes girl. Like, oh, whatever people say, and then she will agree to it, and she will say, okay, okay, I'll help you, I'll do this, I'll do that, because her self-esteem has got crashed down to the bottom,
Mm,
because
mm,
of all this validation that she's seeking from other people. So that's why it's necessary to, not to rely so much on other people's validations, and to validate yourself, which I believe we will be talking a bit more later on. And yeah, so Steph, right? I how based on, given, this, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you, I guess. I mean, if you
Mm-hmm.
are looking at both sides of the people involved, right, we can understand why each person does something. But I also
Mm-hmm.
think, like, when we are not affirmed or validated, we might feel very isolated. And then,
Yeah.
so that will actually help make us at higher risk of mental
Mm-hmm.
illnesses as well. So, I mean,
Yeah,
this is
I
also a
agree.
platform for us to, yeah, talk about that. When we push aside our emotions, although they are valid, we might
Mm-hmm.
actually not be able to access our emotions in the future because we numb ourselves. And then
Yeah.
mm,
when we numb ourselves, right, and then we cannot experience the misery, the sadness, but we also cannot experience the joy too, because we cannot
Yeah.
just turn off whichever emotions we want. And that
mm.
will,
Yeah.
in the long
Yes.
run, have an impact on our mental health.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for pointing that out.
And given that, Sam has been bullied when he was younger as well, all this can also be a contributing factor to him. And you think he might be, defensive against the sense of being vulnerable, because he feels ashamed of sharing his thoughts out. Maybe, when he shared his thoughts out with his parents or even his close ones, close friends, he got bullied, right? He got teased off, or he got being said like, no, this is not what
Mm,
you should be responding to. You should be like a man. In Chinese, there's this called 男子汉大丈夫流血不流泪. So you have to bear with it. You have to be a man, right? But at the age of 15,
mm,
16, or even less than that, it's not very healthy for a kid to behave like a man. But of course, it would be great if that boy can be that. But yeah,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
So,
So
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 I
yeah.
think what Rayson you are pointing to is the experience of shame, because
Mm-hmm.
when Sam has been bullied, and if somebody tell him like, you have to 男子汉大丈夫, be a man,
Yeah.
and brave yourself up, be strong,
Mm-hmm.
and that can actually deny him that
Mm-hmm.
access to his feeling, to his vulnerable feeling, that here I am feeling vulnerable. I really need people to support me because I
Yep.
have been bullied. This is an experience. But then he
Mm-hmm.
may hear you have to be strong. So be independent. Don't look for
Mm-hmm.
people for help. Don't look for people
Yep.
for support. Be independent and be strong. Be a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you
Yes.
say, Rayson, you rightfully mentioned like at that age, right, tender age, young
Mm-hmm.
age. So this might be the
Mm-hmm.
first encounter he has, and it can be
Yeah.
quite shocking, like why people may behave that way, especially if it comes to his friends, right? And that can
Correct.
actually make him change his entire belief or perception on whether to trust people or not, right? So that would actually have an impact on how willing he would be to be vulnerable. And we are talking
Mm-hmm.
about like I mean like today's world, how important it is to how important it is for us to attend to our vulnerabilities, or do we have to always look strong to people on the outside while we are feeling so
Mm-hmm.
fragile on the inside? So I'm wondering what
Yeah.
Stephanie has to think about this dynamic that is going on, like, you know maybe the reaction of how Sam is and how he has to be strong. Yeah, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
what's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so much to unpack there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
when both of you
absolutely.
are speaking about this, I was just thinking about how Rayson raised the point of
Yep.
how this Sam could be projecting his own influences, his own experiences, his own issues on this lady when he was attending to her at the
Mm-hmm.
disco. But it also shows that he has armored himself up such that, this is how you do it. And then this is how we are going to dismiss this, and then it's like
Yep.
Mm,
there's no use in being weak. Yeah. And then
Mm-hmm.
and so when we are armoring ourselves up, right, we are not able to connect with others, and when we
mhm.
can't
Yep.
connect with others, we feel more isolated, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Yes.
that actually makes us more vulnerable, so that could be
Yep.
a spiraling right there.
Yeah,
What do you all
absolutely. Yeah.
think?
You say it so nicely. You really
Oh,
say it so
recite it.
nicely. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Like really how actually by pretending to be strong,
Yep.
we create a disconnect, right, between
Yes.
us and people. And when we have that disconnect, right, we can't build intimate relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Correct.
ultimately we want to have that intimate relationship. We are interdependent
Yeah.
in the society, and that's how society work. We can't just, it's I think right now we are having a challenge where people become overly independent,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm,
there's this need to always look good, and
Mm-hmm.
mm,
therefore people sink into that feeling of self-isolation, like what you mentioned, Stephanie.
Yep.
And
mm,
for me, I think that could be a contributing factor to why people are feeling so much anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
depression. Number of people feeling depressed is rising. Currently we have, like, from the record of the World Health Organization, there's 322 million people worldwide that are depressed,
Oh.
and these are only the recorded number. So many of us are feeling depressed, and we
Yeah.
just maybe feel like it's so shameful, to let people know, maybe even this very basic right to feel, right? We will
Yeah.
feel
yeah.
vulnerable, like losing job, losing loved ones. All
Mm-hmm.
these things will make us feel vulnerable. But how other people can be supportive to us, and how we can be
Mm,
supportive to others during times of vulnerabilities, will help us to build a stronger community, and as an individual we would feel stronger psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
yeah, I
agree.
was I was just thinking of how that actually comes into play, like being strong can actually end up making us feel weaker, in line with what Stephanie is saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe we can actually bring our attention to the emotions of shame right now. I mean, like we spoke a
Mm,
lot about being vulnerable, and being vulnerable is okay, and especially when you are vulnerable towards other people, when you want to share your story to people, it's okay to be vulnerable, right? But then when people bring in shame, okay, what do you think shame as an experience feels like? How would you like really describe this shame all about?
mm. Stephanie.
Huh? Okay. Wow. That is a big question. But I think
Mm,
the 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 first thought I have was how, I have been studying Brene Brown's work, right? And then she talks and discusses a lot about shame and vulnerability. And she talks about
Mm-hmm.
how shame is actually a statement, a self-talk that we have that says, I'm
mm,
not good enough. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like I feel it's not even embarrassment. It's like whatever that I do is not good enough. I don't deserve to. I should just stay away from this world. I cannot get do whatever I need to do. So yeah, I
mm,
guess that kind of sums it up. I'm not good enough. This experience
mm.
of shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do
Yeah.
think Sarah might have another take on this.
Yeah.
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 Shame is one of the favorite emotion I like to work on.
Mm,
I mean, apart from
Mm-hmm.
personal experience of feeling the shame as a very strong emotion, I actually went through some
Mm-hmm.
workshops on it and have my own psychotherapy on it. I think
mm,
it's a very important emotion to understand. It's very prevalent right now, and
Mm-hmm.
not many people understand what it is, because
Mm-hmm.
all of us, because we feel we are not good enough, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
have to make ourselves look good, right? So the
Yeah.
entire thing, like needing to make ourselves look good, actually is a sign that shame is at work.
Yeah.
The emotion of shame is actually at work. And if we understand the role of shame as an emotion, actually,
Mm-hmm.
shame is a pro social emotion.
Yeah.
Uh, it is like all other emotion, they are useful. It gives us access to the information about the world, how the world treats us, how the world function, and how we feel about the world. So all emotions are useful and they are all valid. So this is one thing I want to highlight first. And then now I talk. Let me share just a bit more about shame. Yeah. So
Sure.
shame, I think it is a pro-social emotion. So in the olden times, right, um, it is a way for us to prevent us from dropping out from the herd, in a way, like
Yeah.
preventing us from being a social outcast. So when
Mm-hmm.
we sense that people reject us, we feel shame. That shame experience, that shame emotion is going to help us to align ourselves to the rest of the other people, so then we don't risk
Mm-hmm.
being a social outcast. Because in the
mm,
Mm-hmm.
olden times, if we become a social outcast, we may run the risk of not being able to survive.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
about
even more important. Yeah,
survivability. Yes.
survival. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So
Mm, mm,
so it's even more important to be part of the herd in the past, actually. Yeah,
Yeah. Or else,
without all
or
these
else,
modern technologies we have right now. So it's
correct. Or
actually a
else to
pro-social, and
be,
it is actually helpful. Yeah, but now
yeah.
it becomes toxic. So just want to differentiate healthy shame and toxic shame. I'm not sure whether Brené Brown has mentioned this before or not. Yeah, and whether
Uh,
Steph has anything to share, and
oh,
Rayson as
yeah,
well.
but yeah, Rayson seems to have something to share. You want to say
Yeah,
something,
Rayson.
Rayson?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically
Sorry.
in the olden days, right, when you are, or even like when you're in the village, okay, right now I believe there's still people who are doing this, okay. So when you are not part of the group, like you are of a, different denomination, or even something that's so sensitive called religion, right? And the group, the village leader despise this, or have some things against this, right? You know what? They will actually cast them. They will even bring them to they will bring them to a place and then they will burn them alive or they will throw stones at
Mm,
them. All this were happening in the past in the
mm,
olden centuries, but
mm,
probably even till now, right, in the village areas, probably in India or Africa or this kind of other places that is pretty rural to us. They are not well educated, but they are well educated in terms of what they believe in. So they will do this kind of stuff to outcast people, to actually show people that, hey, this is your fate if you're gonna believe or going to join or going to be an outcast. Okay, so that's why it's necessary for us to learn, how to be part of the herd, which I believe all these are part of the toxic shame that we are talking about. And
mm,
for healthy shame, like bantering of teasing of your friend. Oh wow, you become so chubby, well, after not exercising during COVID-19. Yeah, you can do this kind of shaming, right? Healthy shaming. But when it comes to saying that, oh man, you look so fat, my gosh, you are so fat, wow, you look like a pig or whatsoever, right? this
aiyo.
this this
I
can
feel
this
I
can
feel very triggered now. Okay,
yeah, no,
yeah,
I am triggered.
this
yeah, this
shaming. Oh my
this
god. Okay,
this
yes,
is
that's
called talk. This kind of shaming. Yes, is very dangerous. It can be very unhealthy for not just yourself but also for that person. Why I said
mm,
for yourself is because you are promoting it even more. You are making yourself like, wow, I'm so happy. This person is suffering and I'm so happy. Woohoo, yeah. But then again, you realize that probably this person that is having this unhealthy shaming of other people is starting to deviate from the norm and starting to have probably a personality disorder or some sort of things like that, right? And then for that person that is suffering from this shame, this person will be pretty much affected because that person will be having low self-esteem, and then slowly depression will set in, and maybe psychosis, early psychosis or whatever will come into play, right? Depending
yeah,
on how his hormones in the brain work and function and how it
yeah,
deteriorates as well. So
yeah.
yeah, so
Mm,
this is my
yeah,
Yeah.
2 cents
yeah.
of thought.
I do think that there are people who could be predisposed to certain medical conditions, right? Mental health
Mm,
illnesses. But I do
mhm.
also think that, if I don't see that there could be a healthy or toxic shame, to be honest. I mean, that's my own take on shame, because I
Mm,
feel like we
Mhm.
could guilt people, we could hold people accountable, but that
Yeah.
is different from labeling people. So it's
Okay.
like, hey, you know what? I'm demonstrating some empathy. Like, you know what? I noticed that you
Mhm.
could be eating a little bit more. Tell me what's going on. That's demonstrating
mm,
empathy. But it's like, hey, you are a pig now, ah. That is already like shaming, and then people, the tendency to react is that I'm not good enough, or I
Mhm.
eat a
yeah.
little bit, then I kena already. So I find like
Mm,
Mhm.
that is my differentiation for
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
shame. Yeah.
Okay.
And that is fine. We don't have to feel ashamed of our differences.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
differences is fine, right? Because Rayson was talking about having different beliefs or different group of people and how
Yeah.
that can actually create rejections. And we
Yeah.
don't have to be that by actually recognizing that we each hold an opinion to actually explore on. And
Mhm.
Mm.
if I may just elaborate a bit more about the healthy shame, because where I'm coming from is, the term where some people I have heard over and over again. I'm not sure, Stephanie, in your experience with your clients,
Mm.
how whether your clients has mentioned something like, their parents can never say that they are sorry,
Mhm.
or that
Yeah.
their parents always have to be right.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
have, parents, being parents is the most noble and difficult job on earth. And there is no such thing as perfect parent, right? And there's no
Yeah.
such thing
Agree.
as a perfect human being in the first place. So
Oh,
why is there
absolutely.
Mhm.
to have shame by not being perfect? That's number one, right? However,
Mm.
Mhm.
interestingly, I hear this over. It's so hard for people to say, I'm sorry, I have made a mistake,
Mm.
I
Yeah.
have done something wrong. And I think that the reason why it's so hard for people to say all this, admit their mistakes, for example, is because there's so much shame in imperfection. and therefore actually
Mm.
healthy dose of acknowledging that we are not good enough, acknowledging that we are imperfect. That is actually
Yeah.
healthy. Yeah. And instead, if you always say I have to be right, I cannot say I'm sorry, then this person
Mhm.
does not have a healthy, in a way, doesn't have that sense of healthy shame. To know that,
Mhm.
actually, to have the
Mm.
humility to know that, we are imperfect. All of us are imperfect, right?
Mm.
So let's
Mm.
let's support one another in our imperfection.
Yep, and
Mm.
to add on, right, I believe this is also got to do with this E word. Okay, this E word, this three-letter word is actually ego. Okay, when you are very egoistical, okay, no matter what, the shame that you have from the past can build up your ego, and then you will want to be arrogant. You won't be confident, but you'll be more sway towards the arrogance. And then when you're more arrogant in life, probably even you are not wealthy, but you have that egotistical kind of behavior, that kind of manner, you will actually fall under that category of, oh, I don't care, and then I don't mind people saying whatever. Um, I just don't want to say sorry to people because I'm egoistical, and at the same time, I am the right one. I am the perfect one. I'm the right one. I'm the older one, so the younger one has to listen to me. That kind of mindset, that kind of
Mm.
olden days
Mm.
belief. Yeah, so that's why
Mm.
all this can be grouped into this, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
so there's
yeah.
a lot of interplay about culture, how in the
Mm-hmm.
past,
Mm.
actually
Mm-hmm.
previous generation, how they cope and how they have to
Yeah.
excel, perhaps. And maybe that is one
Mm.
way to actually, the role of shame maybe is to help us to excel, to really be very competitive, so that we can really survive, time and time again, right? In the context of
Yeah.
Singapore, we are a tiny
Mm-hmm.
nation, right? Just the
Yeah.
recent parliament was saying that we are a tiny red dot, right?
Yeah.
So we really need to excel in order to survive. So maybe shame can be a way to make people really be in line and to want to excel. So I think there is maybe a role to it, but I think we may be
Yeah.
Yeah.
stretching a bit too much, such that we
That's
can no longer admit that it's okay to be wrong. It's okay
mm-hmm.
to make mistake, and we all
Mm-hmm.
learn from
Yeah.
it. That's a part of learning journey, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering,
Mm-hmm.
what do you
Yeah.
think, Stephanie? Especially also coming back to the idea of vulnerabilities here.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, this actually people who are egoistical or people who cannot say sorry just shows that it's very difficult for them to be vulnerable, for them to
Yeah.
embrace their humanity. Because if I'm actually very strong, right, then people will respect me, because it's already
Mm-hmm.
very patriarchal and kind of hierarchical kind of systems that
Yeah.
actually does have this thriving, this kind of themes thriving. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like if we are not able to admit our vulnerability, we are not able to admit that everybody, there are some weaknesses, we are not perfect, then
Mm-hmm.
you will actually just start with the armoring through the shame already. So yeah, I
Mm,
mean, this is an interesting conversation. I'm loving it. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, me too.
That
Absolutely.
Mm.
that whatever that you all have said and whatever we have said just now really makes sense in my opinion. But I feel right in our current era, everyone is not feeling good about themselves. Though
Mm-hmm.
everyone is portraying themselves like, wow, they're feeling good on social media. Okay, they don't feel good. Okay, in my opinion, right, it's actually human nature for us to actually want to look good and look strong. And the ironic part is nobody in this era, okay, in this Gen Y, Gen Z era, right, likes to feel vulnerable as though it is something to be really ashamed of. Because I believe, right, everyone on social media, most influencers or anyone, okay, they will only want to share with the world the
Mm.
glamorous side of thing. They want to share, wow, I'm collaborating with MBS. Oh, I'm uh, going to meet Jay Chow. Oh, I'm going to do something. I'm going to eat with my family at this high class 5-star Michelin restaurant, right? Or even simple like, oh, I'm now celebrating my birthday with my family at Marina Bay Sands. Oh, I'm at the Millennial Pool. I'm at all this kind of places, right? And everyone will be thinking like, wow, this person is living the good life. But deep down in
Yeah,
them, they
deep
have that
down.
emptiness in them
Yeah.
that they just want to show to the world like how enjoying their life is. Or maybe some of them,
Mm,
probably some of them that's watching right now, maybe they have some emotional baggages from past relationship, and they build it up and they brought it over to their current relationship, and they are still pretending to enjoy the life with the current one, or all these
mm,
kind of vulnerabilities that it's in them. They do not dare to
Mm,
share to the world. Why?
yeah.
Because of the word shame. Because not
Mm,
just
mm,
because of ego, but because of the word shame. Because they are
yeah.
afraid that
mm,
they are being shamed by people, or for cheating on their boyfriend or girlfriend, or for going out late at night, because in their, all their classmates are not going out, but they are going out late at night, creating nuisance outside, for example, right? Nuisance, right?
Mm,
yeah.
And so many other things, right? And so many
Yeah.
other things. So that's why it is very important, in my opinion, to actually be more vulnerable to people, so that people
Yeah.
will find that you are authentic, and they will come to you, and also at the same time help you, and even guide you to where you want to go.
yeah. I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought it up, Rayson, about how being vulnerable can actually help people to feel that you are authentic. You know, really authentic vulnerability. Lah. That's what I believe we are talking about. And I would like us to bring our attention to
Mm,
this back to vulnerability, right? Like,
mm,
um, how why is it that it's so hard, right? So we are talking about shame. Because of shame, therefore we really want to defend ourselves
Mhm.
from being vulnerable. But in itself, I'm wondering what you think about being vulnerable, in a social context. I mean,
Mhm.
it's so hard, right, for people to feel vulnerable, and I think that is a very good reason why that is the case, because being
Yeah.
vulnerable is actually opening, is not our natural instinct to self protect. Right, we always want to
Mhm.
survive. We always want to strive. We want to self-protect. So
Yeah.
being vulnerable can go against the natural instinct of
absolutely.
Mhm.
self-protection. Yeah. So
Mm,
but we are talking about how by being vulnerable we can build stronger relationship. So it's actually at the service of connection, and in so doing we can have we can actually feel less vulnerable. So there's that paradox that is going on, right?
Yeah.
By trusting the right people
yeah.
Mhm.
who has stand the test of time, for example, who following your gut feeling, when you
Mhm.
trust and you be vulnerable and there is that connection that goes on, it can actually improve our um im- can actually help to lessen our sense of vulnerability. But I'm
Yeah.
also wondering what do you guys think, right? With this topic of the need to cope with vulnerability and how we can deal with vulnerability.
Mm, well, in my opinion, right, it really takes a lot of courage for someone like us, or anyone that's tuning in right now, to actually be vulnerable to people. And as a psychiatric nurse, and also at the same time, as a speaker as well, I realize that when you are being vulnerable to your audience, or to the people that's listening to you, be it a psychotherapist like you guys, or even your best friends, or even your family members, when you're being vulnerable to them and share your story, or share the situation, or whatever that has happened, it makes them loosen their gut with you,
Mm-hmm.
like literally. When I had some issues few months back, I pour my heart out to people, and I was being very vulnerable. I don't care whether I was an influencer or whatsoever. I don't care whether how people see me as who I am. I just shared according to what I wanted to share. most of the people that I shared about my situation, they all gave me positive feedbacks. They gave me a lot of encouragement. They don't care whether am I a guy or whether the person of the other gender has some issues or whatsoever. They don't care. They know who I am. They know that I am being authentic and being vulnerable. That's what they care, and that's what they
Yeah.
care about my feelings. That's why they decided to help out. They decided to do certain things. They decided to listen to me. Even Sarah was one of the so-called person that actually listened to me sharing about my vulnerable story. That it made me feel like, hey, wow, there's so many people that's out there to support you, right? There's so
Yeah.
many people that's
Yeah.
out there to actually listen to you. It's just whether
Yeah.
are you willing to open up your mouth. It's
Ah.
as blunt as possible in your face to say to you, this audience that's watching and tuning in and listening, right? It's all about how willing are you to open up. Because when you don't open
Mm,
up, people will think that you are fine. People will think that you
mm,
are you are okay, you are not facing any issues, or you are doing well in a sense
mm,
where you are able to face these issues by yourself. But when you are able to open up and reach out to people, all the more
yeah.
people will come to you. And this is something
Mm,
that I believe everyone, okay, be it relationship issues, family issues, career issues, any kind of issues, right? Find someone to actually that you can actually trust upon and share it,
Mm.
because
yeah.
ultimately they will want to know what is happening in your life. They also want you to
Mm,
know what's happening in their life. So it's just like how Pepe is actually sharing about, shame is has its social function and has its as its cause too, right? And also at the same time, I'm really grateful, that you are listening to my sharing as well, my personal sharing as well. Really appreciate it. If you guys, okay, that's watching this right now, and you have any questions or anything, any pain points that you want to share with us after the show, or even during the show, or if you have anything that you want to ask all three of us, by all means, you can ask, and we'll do our best to actually answer you guys during our Q&A session later
Mm.
on. All right.
Mm.
mm,
Let's
So
come back
yeah,
to Stephanie. Let's not
yeah,
neglect
yeah.
our
no
guests.
worries. Yes,
We are
let's
saying so
neglect that.
much. But we
Yes, yes,
invite
yes,
Stephanie precisely. Stephanie has a very rich experience,
definitely.
handling vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm so happy listening in. I'm like, because I was just telling Sarah how I'm vulnerable I feel exposing myself on this platform. And then sometimes, honestly, like when Rayson was talking about this, right, it actually points down and boils down to courage and also
Yep.
faith. How can we
Yes.
embrace and access that courage that's been us, and then take that leap of faith and then just
Mm-hmm.
open up, and hope
Yep.
that there will be a safety where we can trust, and then people will be able to demonstrate empathy, when we
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
show our humanity, and then we
Mm.
Yep.
are being genuine and authentic, and people will be like, hey,
Yes.
you know what, I'm also a fellow human, let's see how we
Yep.
can help you. I think that
Yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of faith. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the faith to come on board for the very first
Yep.
episode, to have faith in me and to have faith in Rayson as well. I
Yep.
mean, to be honest, this is my very first time hosting a live talk show.
Mm-hmm.
Rayson has much richer, long experience when it comes to doing live talk shows. So he's very
Thank you.
seasoned in doing this. You
Yes.
can tell, like, he can totally wrap things up really nicely. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I really enjoy our conversation and all the sharing that we
Yep.
bring to the table today. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and okay, so we have a number of viewers right now. Please feel free to make comment or questions. Now is 9:44. We have mentioned earlier that we will set aside 15 minutes for Q&A and responding to comment. So
Mm-hmm.
please let your comment comes in so that we can respond to them. Yeah.
Yep.
So in the meantime, yeah, Stephanie, any last words on, you mentioned just now about courage, right? Courage to be
Yeah.
vulnerable, courage to connect, courage to take
Mm-hmm.
risk, right, in
Mm,
relationship. Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
such a huge important topic.
Yeah, it is. And I also think like if we are able to see ourselves as human and also knowing that we are interacting with other humans, this common humanity will make us feel safer. Like, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
whatever I'm going should also be somebody else could be going through this as well, you know. And then just
Yeah.
taking a shot and then say, maybe you don't know how much to trust, you can like put your feet down into the cold water and see how cold is it. And then just
Mm-hmm.
try, and that might
Mm,
actually reveal into a beautiful solutions, or being embraced and accepted. And then when you have
Yeah.
that sense of belonging to someone else, it actually very rewarding. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it makes so much difference to have you, Stephanie, and have you, Rayson, on this talk show with
Oh,
me. It makes so much
thank you.
difference. Yeah, it will, I'm sure it makes all the difference to the viewers as well. The listener is so much richer to hear
Mm-hmm.
our each of our perspective, whether it's similar or different, and
Yeah.
our own life experience. I think this is also a demonstration of vulnerability, right? Each time we are trying new
Mm-hmm.
things, we are
Yeah.
Yeah.
actually being vulnerable. And now is really, we are in unprecedented times, right? Of huge changes, total
Yes.
disruption of our
Mm-hmm.
life. And we have to learn fast, we have to adapt fast. And I think one of the ways is to find people we can trust. Like what
Yeah.
Yep.
Stephanie say, maybe dip the feet a bit, see,
Yeah.
oh, is that person able to respond in a
Yeah.
supportive manner? And
Yeah.
then
Yep.
when the person respond, right, you can feel that strengthening, right? That you are
Yep.
no longer alone. So you
Alone.
can actually
Yeah.
face
Yep.
the changes together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. I agree. I mean, like, when you are being vulnerable, it shows that you're somebody that's real, and you're not somebody
Yes.
that's like a robot that, oh, when I meet this friend, I only can talk about this thing. When I meet
Mm,
friend B, I'm gonna only talk about this situation and not other things. So it will
mm,
be good if you are being vulnerable to the people that you really trust and the people that's supportive of you, that helps you
Yes.
and all this, then all the more people will want to share about their life story, about their family, about their children, about their work, about their probably their advice to you on how to work out and become stronger and things like that, right? So yeah, and okay, and I'm not flexing just to show off my muscle, no, not to worry.
You look
Okay.
like you
yes, you
were.
are.
Okay, so yeah, so all this something that we all have to learn in terms of vulnerability, and of course, um being able to really work on this word called trust, okay, is
Yes.
very important because it's something that's not easy to build, like what Steph has mentioned earlier as well. It's not easy to build, and also at the same time it's easy to be broken. Okay, so that's why it is very important for you to know who is somebody that you can trust, who you cannot trust at all.
Mm,
So that's why there's this phrase that I've learned for a couple of months already, for a while already, and that is, uh, bring your family and your loved ones and your best friends or friends closer, okay, and then keep your enemies close. Okay, keep your best friends, your family, and all these people, your loved ones that support you and all this closer, but those enemies and haters and all those disbelievers and all this kind of stuff close. So at least you know what is going on and you know what to do next after that.
right. So the
Mm.
Yeah.
Chinese saying, right, 知己知彼，百战百胜.
Yeah.
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 We want to know
Okay.
everybody,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
and
that's one way of coping with vulnerability. That is to have that knowledge of ourself and others.
yep.
Yeah.
And
No.
to be there's a question by Pei
Yeah. There's a
Pei.
question. Yes.
Yeah, so you
Mm.
can, so we're gonna flash it over here, okay? So Pepe, all right, I know you wanna ask us, okay, so how can we support others to be vulnerable? So Steph, what's your answer to this?
Wow.
Hot seat,
Yeah.
Okay.
Steph.
Yeah. Hot seat. Sometimes the hot potato is in my seat. But
Right.
I think when I saw Pepe's question, right,
Vulnerable.
the first, yeah, my first thought really is empathy. you know, being
Yeah.
able to listen openly,
Mm-hmm.
listen with respect, you know, treating this person's story and this
Yeah.
person's perspective, you know, with openness, can actually
Mm-hmm.
encourage a person to open up a little bit, you know, because they might be
Mm,
Yeah.
feeling really fragile and
Yes.
also scared of being weak. So if we are
Yep.
able to demonstrate that, you know, and offer a gesture of kindness and compassion, I think we'll be
Mm.
able to support others. What do you think, Sarah?
wow, I love the way you say it. I mean, uh, yeah, that means brings me back to our context, right, of Sam. Yeah, how uh, how Sam can be supportive towards
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
the female friend when the
mm,
Mm-hmm.
female friend is tearing at one corner, and so I guess coming back to Sam, right, maybe he feel the need to defend himself from feeling vulnerable, right, given
Yeah.
the negative experience of having been vulnerable and having been hurt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So but through our conversation today, you know, what we are saying is that it's okay to be vulnerable,
Yep.
especially the first step is to acknowledge that it's okay within ourselves, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
don't always have to be perfect. In fact, we are not
mm,
perfect, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay to cry when you're feeling sad. It's okay even to be anxious because that's just normal. Like you're facing some challenges. Anxiety is the way to, you know, motivate perhaps sometimes to get you going and have give you the sense of urgency to manage situation. So all
Mm-hmm.
emotions has got actually serve us well. All emotions serve us well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with Stephanie.
Yes.
The importance of being respectful to
Yep.
emotion in ourselves as well as emotion in other people. So I think that
Yep.
is really the first step to build strong relationship. Mm.
Yeah.
mm,
And don't mind me adding one more thing, and that is, in order to support others to be vulnerable, first and foremost, you got to be able to be vulnerable to that person as well. Because if you are
mm,
not vulnerable to that person, and that person can sense that you're keeping things from that person, then all the more that person, no matter how many times you want to listen to them, you want to give them empathy and all this kind of stuff, it won't work 100% because they will find that, hey, you are trying to be less vulnerable to me. So why should I be vulnerable to you? So that's why, in my
mm,
opinion, it's like you got to learn how to build that trust with that person through being authentic, through being genuine, through being vulnerable to that person, so that that
mm.
person will be able to let you listen to them, will
Mm,
be able to allow you to go into their world. If you
Yeah.
mm,
don't let them
nice.
come
If
into your
yeah.
world, they will not be able to let you go into their world.
Yeah,
Make
Mm,
sense?
agree.
nice,
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes
nice.
sense. And I want to build on that point that you mentioned, right, Rayson? You know, when we are being vulnerable, one simple way to be in that space is to understand and know that we don't have the answers.
Yep.
This person's life and this is person's situation, I might have some maybe some experience, but it's not exactly this person's
Yes.
situation right now. And then
Mm-hmm.
having that mindset and using that to inform our treatment can actually
Mm-hmm.
make us feel be more vulnerable and know that, hey, let me just listen to this person and see how I can best support this person rather than I'm going to help you solve your problem and I'm the strong
Yeah.
one here, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
That is so important. I mean, so prevalent, right, in how people
Yeah.
respond. I am here to solve your problem. I'm the strong one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I feel
and
it.
also one more thing is, guys, okay, girls don't want you to solve their issues. So if any girl is going to talk to you, okay,
Yeah.
about their issues, please don't tell them, oh, I will refer you to IMH. Oh, I'll refer you to this place or
Aya.
whatever. Okay, straight away, just listen. Okay, listen to them and
Mm,
then do your best to just support, validate their emotions, and that's it. Don't give
Mm,
them solutions. Don't give them anything, or else you will not be, um, you will not be, in a sense where you will not be really, you will feel like, hey, this person is just manipulating me in a sense, right?
yeah.
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 Yeah,
Okay.
that can be also a shutdown, right?
Yes,
Mm,
they will shut
If a
down as
person
well.
doesn't feel empathized, they will shut down their emotion. So that's happening all around us, emotion being shut down. Well,
Mm.
I had a lovely time in this very first episode.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Rayson. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Yeah,
And
thank
this
you.
is our very first episode of the series called Social Minding.
Yeah.
And social minding is a term I coined to illustrate being mindful, bring our mind in to understand how we socialize, being
Yeah.
mindful in the way we socialize. So this is only the first episode. We have three more episodes to go, and it's going to have it's going to happen on the first and the third Friday. So today is the first Friday. So 2 weeks
Hmm.
from now, we are going to have the second episode, and that is on interpersonal boundaries. Right? How do
Oh,
we manage interpersonal boundaries? Yeah, I have an invited guest who is also a psychotherapist. I will share more about him in the days to come. And
yeah.
then the last two episode is next month, the first and the third Friday of next month, right?
Hmm.
So hope all the listener here, all the viewers here, I hope you had a wonderful time just as I did.
Yes.
And stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in, and do keep following us, letting us know what you think, how you feel. We continue to be in touch with you. All
Yeah.
right. Any last words, Stephanie, and any last word, Rayson?
Oh, I just want to be, I'm just very thankful for this conversation. I think it's very important to talk about such difficult topics. And then I think you're actually providing that platform. So well done, Sarah and Rayson.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
so much. So for
Thank you.
everyone that's tuning in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and even share this out to the people that needs this. Okay, you can share it to your profile, your Facebook group, or even share it in your WhatsApp group chat or whatsoever. Make sure that everyone aligned with this and also at the same time are watching this and helping the people around you that's in need. Okay, so with
Right.
that we would like to wish every one of you a great night ahead, sweet dreams, and don't dream of me, no, just kidding. Okay, and also at the same time, have a great weekend ahead. Okay, see
All
you
right.
guys.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you.